In the opening scene, we are introduced to Norway's most successful headhunter, Roger Brown. A headhunter is a person who identifies potential candidates and recommends them to various companies. Apart from this, Roger also has a peculiar hobby of stealing artwork from his clients. He describes himself as a short person, who makes up for his height with his good looks and money. Roger is married to a tall and attractive woman named Diana, who is unaware of his illegal activities and thinks that he gained all his wealth through inheritance. Despite Diana's strong desire to have a child, Roger is not yet prepared for parenthood. As part of their routine, Roger drops Diana off at her art gallery where she works alongside other men. This triggers Roger's insecurities, fearing that the other tall and handsome men may lure Diana away from him. So, to maintain her happiness, Roger often buys expensive gifts for her. He also has a secret mistress named Lot. After dropping off Diana, he meets with his mistress and engages in a physical relationship with her. That day, Lot suggests going out for dinner because she wants to introduce him to some other people. However, Roger firmly rejects the idea and denies any deeper connection between them, abruptly ending their relationship. In the next scene, Roger is at his client Pathfinder's company, conducting an interview with a candidate named Lander for the CEO position. During the interview, Roger brings out an expensive painting and asks if Lander is aware of its value. In response, the latter reveals that he himself possesses a $1 million painting in his house. As their conversation progresses, Roger finds out that no one is present at Lander's residence during the daytime. This makes him determined to steal the expensive painting and make it his. Following the interview, Roger contacts his crime partner, Ove, who works at a surveillance company. He informs Ove about Lander and the valuable painting in his house. Realizing that there is a new target, Ove discreetly gains access to the control room and deactivates the security system at Lander's residence. Meanwhile, Roger breaks into the house and swaps the original artwork with a counterfeit one. Later, he withdraws some money so that he can buy another expensive gift for his wife. Just then, he receives a call from his accountant, who warns him about the impending risk of bankruptcy if he continues spending recklessly. The scene then cuts to Diana's art gallery opening, where she introduces Roger to Xray, a former executive from the GPS tech company HeadHunters. After a brief conversation with him, Roger, who is currently searching for a CEO for Pathfinder, realizes that Xray could be a potential candidate. He knows that Pathfinder and HeadHunters are competitors, but despite this, he arranges a meeting with Xray for the next day. After the event, Diana reveals that Xray has recently inherited a painting, which is believed to be worth millions. Hearing this, Roger sees an opportunity to alleviate his financial troubles and plans to steal the painting. He then contacts Ove and arranges a meeting to discuss the same. The next morning, Diana brings up the topic of having a child once again and reminds Roger that he has been denying her for 7 years. Annoyed, Roger angrily responds that it will take 7 more years if she continues to nag him about it. Following this, he meets Ove, who initially expresses reluctance to carry out the job due to his recent engagement with a Russian girl. However, Roger manages to persuade him by saying that the painting is worth millions. With it, he can buy whatever he wants for his new wife. Later in the day, Roger meets Xray at a restaurant to discuss the job. During their conversation, Roger uses his usual tactics to gather more information about Xray. They spend the remainder of the day together, sharing meals and playing squash. This extended interaction allows Roger to gather the information that he needs. He discovers that Xray was formerly a member of TRACK, a specialized unit focused on tracking individuals, and had even won the European military pentathlon. In addition, Xray played a role in the development of a nanotechnology GPS tracking gel for HeadHunters, which is difficult to remove. Despite recognizing the significant risks involved, Roger decides to proceed with his plan to steal the painting. On the planned day of the robbery, Roger, with the help of Ove, covertly infiltrates Xray's residence and swaps the genuine painting with a fake one. But before leaving, Roger notices children playing outside the house, which unexpectedly causes a change of heart regarding his stance on having children. He calls Diana to share the news that he is now ready to start a family. Surprisingly, while making the call, he hears a ringing phone from Clus's bedroom. On investigating further, Roger shockingly discovers his wife's cell phone next to Clus's bed, suggesting a potential affair between them. Enraged, he immediately returns home and confronts her about it, and Diana pretends that she might have left her phone at the art gallery. The next day, Clus has a meeting with Pathfinder, but Roger finds it difficult to concentrate as his thoughts revolve around his wife's alleged infidelity with Clus. In an act of retaliation, he informs Clus that he is uncertain about recommending him for the position. After work, Roger confronts Diana once again and tells her that he will make sure Clus does not get any job in all of Norway. Hearing this, her expression quickly changes, but she manages to maintain her composure. The following morning, as Roger prepares to leave for work, he discovers Ove lying motionless in his car. Alarmed, he tries to wake his partner up, but to no avail. After a while, Roger finds a poisonous syringe embedded in the car seat. This means that he was the intended victim, and that Ove accidentally sat on the syringe while trying to steal the car. Filled with alarm, Roger places Ove's body in the trunk and drives towards a nearby lake with the intention of disposing of it there. However, when he tosses the body into the water, Ove suddenly regains consciousness, indicating that the poison did not take full effect. This frightens Roger even more, so he quickly dives into the lake and pulls the semi-conscious Ove back into the car. After driving him to his place, Roger lays him in bed and starts blabbering about his wife's illicit affair. Ove, who is in a lot of pain, urges Roger to call 911, but the latter refuses, saying he doesn't want to involve the police. Instead, he retrieves some milk from the refrigerator, which can neutralize the effects of the poison. In the process, Roger discovers Ove's gun in the fridge and takes it along with the milk. When he returns to the room, Ove has another gun in hand. He threatens Roger to call an ambulance, and even fires some warning shots. In a state of panic, Roger accidentally pulls the trigger of his own gun, which ends up killing Ove. Terrified, Roger quickly exits the house, only to find Clus, who has been trailing him. Sensing that the man is behind all this, Roger immediately flees towards his car and speeds away. During his escape, Roger realizes that Clus may have employed Hot's GPS gel technology to track him. As a result, he switches cars, abandoning his own vehicle for Ove's. Moreover, he throws his clothes in a nearby lake and changes into spare clothing from Ove's uniform. Seeking refuge, Roger arrives at a farm where Ove used to reside. There, he rents a cabin from an owner and then starts looking for a place where he can hide the stolen painting. Shortly after, he runs into a toilet outside and hides the painting in its old, dusty ceiling. In the next scene, Clus follows Roger to the farm, accompanied by his dog. After a brief conversation with the owner, Clus heads towards the cabin where Roger is staying. The latter spots him from the toilet and, with nowhere to go, he hides inside the dirty pit of the toilet. After a while, Clus arrives at the same toilet and searches it thoroughly, but finds nothing and leaves. As night falls, Roger comes out from the toilet and rushes towards his car. However, he is unable to start the vehicle due to apparent tampering of its wires by Clus. Left with no alternative, Roger decides to take the farm owner's tractor. To access it, he needs the key, so he discreetly sneaks into the owner's house. Inside, Roger is horrified to discover the lifeless body of the owner. Despite the grim scene, he retrieves the keys from the owner's pocket and hurriedly returns to the tractor. Just as he is about to board it, Clus's dog detects his presence and initiates an attack. In the ensuing chaos, Roger inadvertently impales the dog on the tractor's forks, killing it instantly. Following this, he drives away from the farm. While on the road, Roger notices a vehicle trailing behind him. Believing that Clus is still pursuing him, he drives erratically, leading to his fall from the tractor. It is later revealed that the pursuer was a stranger who only wanted to offer help. Roger then awakens in a hospital bed, and upon glancing out the window, he spots Clus's car, which unsettles him. Determined to escape, he makes an attempt, but some police officers, who were stationed outside, quickly apprehend him. During this encounter, Roger learns that the police mistakenly believe him to be Ove, and they have arrested him on the grounds of killing the farmer. Hence, he stops resisting and simply cooperates with the authorities. While en route to the police station, the officers pull over to block a reported stolen truck. The driving cop steps out to take a look at the situation, but the truck doesn't slow down. Seeing this, Roger realizes that Close is still following him. He has changed his clothes and completely altered his appearance, but somehow, the freak knows his every move. After thinking for a while, Roger finally realizes that Close has installed a tracker in his hair in the form of GPS gel. This was put there by none other than his own wife, Diana. After learning all of this, a desperate Roger warns the officers about the imminent danger posed by the truck, but his pleas go unheard. Moments later, Close hits the police car, sending it hurtling off a cliff and causing the death of all the officers. After a brief period of unconsciousness, Roger wakes up to find himself trapped upside down between the lifeless bodies of the officers. Soon after, Close approaches the scene to confirm Roger's demise. In order to save himself, our hero feigns death until Close departs. After this, he drags himself out from the car, unlocks his handcuffs, shaves his head, conceals his hair on one of the deceased officers, and exchanges clothing with another officer whose body is disfigured, thereby simulating his own death. With nowhere else to turn, Roger goes to his ex-mistress, Lot, who lets him in. While he waits in a room, Lot goes to retrieve first aid supplies. During this, Roger notices a hot pen, indicating that Lot is also working for Close. Enraged, he quickly confronts her at gunpoint, demanding the truth. Lot tries feigning ignorance, but when Roger prepares to pull the trigger, she finally speaks up and reveals everything. Lot confesses that Close isn't unemployed, but he is still secretly employed by Holt. His entire plan was to trick Roger, so that he could get the Pathfinder job and steal valuable technologies from them. Lot admits that she was the one who put the GPS gel in Roger's hair, thereby clearing Diana's name. She also reveals that she had invited him on a date earlier so that she could introduce him to Close. However, since Roger ended their affair, Close fabricated a story involving $1 million painting as a means to orchestrate a meeting through Diana. After learning all of this, Roger lowers his gun, which gives her a chance to attack him with a knife. An intense fight ensues between the two and Roger ends up shooting her in self-defense. Roger then returns home and confesses everything to Diana, who also apologizes for her affair with Close. Diana questions if Roger had feelings for Lot, to which he responds in the negative. She calls him stupid for stealing art just to buy her things. As their conversation unfolds, Roger admits that he was afraid of losing Diana, so he went to great lengths to keep her happy. He also confesses that he was apprehensive about having a child because he feared Diana would prioritize the child over him. After these heartfelt confessions, the couple addresses their issues and shares an emotional hug. The next morning, Roger visits a morgue in order to retrieve his cut hair, which could potentially link him to the murders. As soon as he leaves, Diana contacts Close, seemingly to resume their affair. After successfully stealing the evidence from the forensic lab, Roger proceeds to Ove's residence to wipe out the remaining incriminating evidence. As he cleans his fingerprints, Close suddenly confronts him, apparently having tracked the GPS gel within the cut hair. He boasts about Diana returning to him once again. In response, Roger smirks, provoking Close to aim his gun at him. Frustrated by Roger's silence, Close attempts to shoot but fails. Roger then delivers a fatal blow to Close using a hidden weapon, revealing that Diana had resumed her affair only to tamper with Close's gun. She had actually replaced live rounds with blanks. Unbeknownst to Close, Roger has also activated security cameras, capturing footage of Close engaging in a shootout. Roger strategically positions himself in a blind spot near Ove's lifeless body, where the cameras can't see him. After shooting Close to death, Roger places the gun in Ove's hand and sneaks out of the crime scene through a window. The footage, along with fabricated evidence by Roger, suggests that Ove and Close were art thieves who murdered the farm owner, Lot, and ultimately killed each other after a dispute. In the aftermath of these events, the police, including the esteemed detective named Breedsper, overlook minor inconsistencies, such as the time of Ove's death conflicting with the video footage, because Breed knows that leaving the case unsolved would harm his growing reputation. In the final scene, we see Roger and Diana, who are about to become parents. Roger is back to work where proceeds to hire Lander as the new CEO of Pathfinder Company, despite initially rejecting him.